Hello. So, I gave some commentary about the recent FEH Channel that was a little unpopular to some. Uh, oh boy. Man, I will never understand defending the predatory behaviors of a company that makes billions, but okay. Alright. So, let's, uh, let's talk about the Loki of it all. You know? Mythic Loki, emphasis on the thick, as many of you have put in my comments. Thank you for that. You know, one of the things on my bucket list of like stuff they need to be able to fix in Fae has been the Dragonflower drought for like a long time. Like when they got introduced, I would say first year, like things were relatively pretty good, you know, and then BST started escalating even worse, and they just weren't enough, you know. And now we're to a point where older units, they aren't really. I will never not advocate for building your favorites, okay? But there is just such a stark difference between something that gets introduced in like, you know, the current month compared to something from year 2 that's fully maxed, you know. It's a little crazy. It's a little, and it's not all the time. It's not all the time. There are some exceptions, but they're really not incentivizing you to worry about stuff that has happened already, you know. And the spirit of Fire Emblem Heroes to me is to utilize, you know, your favorites and put teams together from a bunch of different titles that you've played. It's lost that spark for me. I'm gonna be honest. It has. Now, I am also fortunate enough to have something new come up every few months that I'm jazzed about, right? So it doesn't really affect me that much, but to someone who maybe has only played like 1 or 2 games, and they're like waiting for their faves to kind of pop in on the banner and be good again, right? I can understand why that's frustrating. Q, the merged ordeals, which is just, it's such a good phrase. Merged ordeals indeed, you know? Something that could have like been a side additional benefit of Emblem Heroes when they got introduced not but like 3.5, 4 months ago. They wait till almost May to have that implemented. You know, it's weird. And this is why I'm here to talk to you today. Okay? I'm here to talk to you today because Loki, right? Controversial, appealing, just down bad as she is. Maybe this is not the banner to try and get multiple copies, if a copy at all. Because this is the banner that she is debuting on, alongside Guinevere, which now Golvig was very popular, okay, and so on her debut she was also alongside Gwen. So I would assume that most people who polled for Golvig have a Guinevere or 2 or 12. And because of that, I'm scratching my head, you know? And I think maybe they debuted her and gave her like the random FEH Channel. Like, was that even worth a FEH Channel? Like, they let us know that there'd be this random recurrence of Rooker Sieges, right? Like, that could have been a tweet. You know what I mean? Like, that was the most hyped part. And I guess we're getting 3 weekly revival banners now. That also didn't really seem FEH Channel. It felt specifically like they were like, hey, look, merged ordeals and also Loki. Isn't that cool? They tried to hype up Loki's debut on this absolutely trash Mythic banner. Straight up. This is what it looks like. Blue is pretty decent. But I mean, outside of that, you are just absolutely bleh. Right? Now, you're probably going to have Ginny, you know, the rearmed dagger. She's probably going to be down there in colorless alongside Loki and Guinevere. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. I really don't. Here's why I think maybe you might want to wait. Because the thing is, May's banner. Look, respectfully, if we're boiling things down to you need legends, mythics, and emblem heroes, those are the 3 main archetypes that you're probably going to want more versions of than others. May looks pretty good. You know what I mean? We have literally every color bracket filled out. Caveat, they may last minute on the April banner be like, oh, so-and-so is coming back in May, now they're coming back in June, right? But if it stays this way, this is pretty, I mean, every color's filled. Green is the only exception. You're probably looking at a new legendary or emblem hero even in May, right? And you know, whatever pops up alongside, possibly Lucina. Could be rearmed Lucina in there. So bang for buck. I mean, you could have that, or you could have this. I think the choice is, I mean, you know, you feel me on this? And it might be different if they actually gave you some substance of orbs during the Golden Week or the Merged Ordeal Cellar or whatever the heck they're calling it, you know? If they were gonna give you, like, legitimately something. But they're not. They're not giving you any orbs. They gave you Brave banner tickets that you've already likely wailed on in the past and are either satisfied or you're just like, well, it's free, so I guess that's cool. You know what I mean? Some of you may be the long game players in that you merge up a +10 in over the course of like several years. And in which case, I think that is actually the smart way to approach stuff from now on. Because like they are clearly trying to get you to pull on a banner that has probably the lesser likely odds of you getting the actual character you want. Because while there are lower rates at a 50-50 barter on other banners like Special and Standard, the legendary banners are always going to be a 1 in 3. And they're, you know, they're going to have limited characters, but they're also going to have non-limited characters. Just standard 5 stars that make their way in occasionally too. And you always have to win that 1 in 3. It's never 50-50. So your odds, even though, you know, it's 8% instead of, you know, the 6%, I guess, for a 5 star with a 3% rate up, 3% standard. You still have to win that 1 in 3, which, you know, is kind of harder than the coin flip. Really, the appearance rate is only applicable if you pump enough orbs in to hit, you know, that average on the probability curve. So they're not giving you the currency to pull enough like that consistently. And now they're trying to tell you to pull on banners that have, you know, more obstacles of you getting the character you're actually trying to zone in on. And if they're not, well, I mean, that is not good value. Like, that's not good value. I don't care who you are. That's not a good value for you. If you're just pulling every color trying to get to spark even, that's not good value. The entire branch of green is basically like getting refined within a year. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good. It's not great. It's not great. But, okay, let's say you are a Loki fan. Here's why you should probably wait. Just give it a month or two. You know, this is June's banner. And as you can see, we've been full up on colorless. Right? So, wouldn't it be something? Wouldn't it be something if she came back at like a really opportune time? I present to you July's banner, 90 days out from Loki's initial debut, with a nice, tempting colorless location right next to Legendary Allure. Now, look, I'm not out here trying to slander on Guinevere, but I think most people, if given the choice between a Guinevere or an Allure, they'd probably take the Allure 9 times out of 10. Okay? So, I think overall, there's a really good chance that Loki has a rerun in July, which, you know, puts her alongside, if you're just polling optimized, you know, spending. Dude, even with just 3 characters in, July is already a better monthly banner than April. Like, straight up. You have these 3, it's already a better banner than whatever April has. Just straight up. So, I think this is maybe the route to go. I think that since the heroic ordeals, the merged ordeals, that unlocks whenever you get the merge. That maybe you don't immediately merge in April. Maybe you wait until the July rerun. Maybe just spark her in April if you're really that gung-ho. But for me, that might just be my plan. Just spark, get a copy, because there's literally nothing else on that banner that's really that worth. That's not going to show up again at some point. And then just ride it out, because May is going to be insane. June even is pretty good, and then obviously July has a lot of potential, right? And given track records, the new Mythic, Emblem, Legendary, whatever, could also be colorless in July too, which is another thing that, you know, maybe may not have crossed your brain yet, but you know, Wouldn't that be something if we had an Alear Loki new legend back to back to back in colorless in July? Wouldn't that be crazy value? Whoa. Insane. So look, I guess the whole moral of this video, as someone who has pulled a lot in the past, and is embracing a new, more moderated version of, you know, conscious pulling in Heroes. Don't get caught up in the FOMO, right? Don't get caught up in the instant hype, because they have demonstrated and are clearly backing up the practice of, well, only new matters. And the problem with Heroes, they got too many banners. There's too many new units coming out. Everything changes on almost a bi-weekly basis. Every 10 to 15 days, something changes in their scaling of like what the gameplay should be. So, if that's the case, why would you pump a bunch of currency into something that's going to fall off in a month? Like, you might as well do the bare minimum to get by if you're going to play that way. You know what I mean? And don't plus 10 everything. And don't max everything out. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to do that anymore. Now, obviously, I spend on favorites. Like, that is my target demo. Or if there's a skill that comes in, like on Rearmed Azura, right? Or Attuned Azura. I will prioritize trying to get a copy of that so I can buff up something old. Because I like playing with older units and I like playing with favorites. That's me. I have never cared about keeping current in whatever, you know, meta, power creep, inflation of stats, what have you. And I've never had an issue clearing content, and even pulling so little in almost what is basically half of the year since the new book came out in December. I haven't really had any issue clearing content, and most of the time I don't use any like uber new stuff anyway. So it might take a little longer, right? But all the content is still very much doable as is. Which again, I don't really understand why there's a bunch of insane like mechanics and stat inflation and things like that. Certain game modes like Summer Duels fall prey to that very badly. And it's part of the reason why I no longer like Summoner Duels. But I like clearing, you know, mythic battles and limited battles and things like that. That's still fun for me. And that doesn't really impact the way I want to choose to play or anything like that. So, I guess it all works out for me, but it may not be that way for others, which is why I make videos like this, to help give some kind of insight that maybe you just haven't thought about or realized, but needed to hear it from somebody else. Because we've all been there, you know? Anyway, Summer Golvik's coming probably, so I'm gonna go back in my little save mode. I'll have a fun video coming out for you tomorrow probably, so look forward to that. But yeah, I wanted to say my piece because I felt like it needed to be said, and now I've said it, and now I'm done. Thank you for watching. Let me know if what you're gonna do. What are your plans? What are your plans? Let me know your plans in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one.